All right, my topic is soft determinism. Before I explain what it is, it's probably more helpful to explain a couple of other concepts first. The concepts of determinism and non-determinism, because soft determinism is kind of in between the two. First off, determinism. Determinism is the idea that one thing leads to another. It operates on a presumption of causality. It So, by this logic, for example, if you had an abusive childhood, you will become an abusive parent. In this philosophy, the person is out of control of their future. From the moment they're born, the future is written. And in a world that you believe this, it really don't have much decision in your life or choices. Non-determinism is the idea that there's no causal connections at all. Things happen totally independently of each other. And someone who believes in this model would say, for example, that an abusive childhood will have absolutely no effect on your life as an adult, that any issues you have as an adult are totally independent of that and have nothing to do with it. Um, yeah. So the in between, the middle ground between those two is soft determinism. Soft determinism acknowledges that the past can influence us or predispose us to certain struggles, but it doesn't dictate that things have to be that way. According to the Ansbachers in their 1956 commentary in the book The Individual Psychology of Alfred Adler, they identify that Adler didn't actually use the concept or the term soft determinism, so it's more of something that's been applied to his work in retrospect, but it makes sense and it does apply. Um, as we have heard a lot, there's a Adler quote that everyone uses a lot. It's everything can also be different, and that's a good example of the concept of soft determinism, that things are not set in stone. And let's see. This is sorry. Some concepts, some things to keep in mind about soft determinism. One is that these are all from the Mozak and Maniaki book. One is that choosing and wanting are not always the same thing. So we might choose things we don't necessarily want. For example, from the book, they describe somebody who chooses a broken leg when they jump out of a burning building. And I think this could also apply to like certain safeguarding stuff that we do. And we make a choice to do something even though it's maybe not what we would identify that we want. Um, Two, freedom of choice is different from freedom to choose. So we have the ability to choose and make decisions in our life, but our choices are not unlimited. When we can't change a factor in our life, we still have the freedom to choose our attitude. So there's always some freedom, but it doesn't mean that we have the unlimited freedom to choose any option out of infinite lives. The third thing to keep in mind is to be mindful of placing blame. So we're responsible for our own choices, but when we talk about this, it sometimes can become very much that you're blaming people for things that maybe they didn't know when they chose that they were choosing. So the goal is education and growth, and not to make people feel guilty for what they've done in their life or the choices that they've made. Why is it important? So I think this is crucial to working with people, because it has to do with our belief in people's ability to change and choose their own um, life. Without the belief of the individual's ability to influence his or her own life, the work of therapy is almost hopeless. And when we work with clients, it's imperative that we believe in their potential for growth and support them as they make decisions about who they want to be. There's a good quote, again, from the Ansbacher's commentary in The Individual Psychology of Alfred Adler, where they use the term the creativity of the individual as the intervening variable, which I think summarizes this point pretty good and also kind of ties it in with the other concept that I didn't choose, but that is very similar to soft determinism, which is the creative self. So hopefully somebody else did that one and can tie it in. Um, let's see. The application to the lifestyle analysis. Um, this can be pretty intense, I think, when you look back at your past and when you can see those connections so easily. It can be easy to note the connection between our early experiences in family and our current struggles. So, a personal example for me is that I was raised by a very anxious mother and I'm a very anxious adult. So, when you first notice that, it can be tempting to just be comforted by that and say, like, oh, that's why I'm like that. It's not my fault. This is the way it was going to be. But I think this concept reminds us that even though those things do have an influence on us and set us up or predispose us to be a certain way, once we recognize that and see what's happened, we have a choice about whether we want to continue um, down that same road or not. Not that you can just snap your fingers and, completely change your personality, but we do have choices that we make every day that um, influence ourself. So, yeah, soft determinism reminds us that we are not resigned to be always the same as we are now, and that, as Adler says, everything can also be different. Um, I hope this was okay. This isn't exactly the way I wanted to do my presentation. I was trying to do it in iMovie, but apparently my computer is too old to handle that. So I had to do it all in one take, and I don't look forward to hearing the results. Here are my references. I used our two main books for the most part, or, you know, and all my pictures are stock images, so there's no attribution or anything. Yeah, thanks for your time. That's all I got. Bye.